content on his channel, things that are like, I wouldn't say out of the ordinary, because now there's so many what we would consider out there things that are actually happening, and no one can really, I guess it's the new normal. I'm just gonna chalk it up to the new normal. Okay, so he has a lot of interesting content. So when this popped up, goblins and a police station in Zimbabwe, and they're attacking, and then they abandon the police station right away. I'm like, wow, what is this? I never heard of this. So I listened to it, and then when you go on YouTube and you just put in goblins Zimbabwe, it is a ton. I had no clue. So much content came up about goblins in Zimbabwe. I never would have made the connection between this location, this locale, this geographical place, destination, and actual goblins. But like I said, I am not really clear on what goblins are. I've heard of the term. I've heard of hobgoblins. I think of The Hobbit. I think of stuff like that. I can't even really get in my mind what it actually looks like. Now, when I looked at this article from Boing Boing, and they have a sketch, it kind of goes in there. When I asked Miss Mary, I kind of told Miss Mary about it, and I said, well, when you hear the word goblin, what comes to mind? And she says, what are those things that people put on their lawns? And I said, well, those are gnomes. And she said, yeah, that's the first thing you asked me. You're always asking me questions. That's what comes to mind. So she has more of a gnome kind of, thing. So I'm like, okay, I think of very small trolls. I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff, and it seems like this particular location actually has been plagued. I think it would be safe to say, based on just what I looked at on YouTube. Now, when I actually try to look it up on Yahoo, I see a bunch of stuff as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a couple, or maybe a couple, and let's see of things on here that we can find about goblins in Zimbabwe. Welcome back. So I found some content from Afronique.com. Let's see when it was published. Let's see, it should be a date on here. But it says the story of Zimbabwe's goblin crisis. They invade, it says, marital beds. That's interesting. I don't see a date on it at the top of it, but it does say, it goes on to say, forget African mermaids, which is something that I've seen a lot about. Is water spirits on YouTube, and a lot of people who are prophets and people who are religious, I guess you would say, talking about these mermaids or these water spirits, and giving testimonies about these water spirits, mermen as well as mermaids. It says stories of encountering creatures from folklore and legends are widely spread on the internet and social media throughout Africa. The case of an encounter with Zimbabwe goblin of mystical creatures. Now it says, in Zimbabwe, goblins are a problem of increasing concern. And then it says, in February 2012, schoolgirls from St. Sebastian High School, fled and screaming after being attacked in their classroom, by goblins that resembling dwarves, I forgot to name that, dwarves who turned into baboons. Right away, I'm thinking of dwarves, what I envision to be dwarves, and then turning into a baboon. Now, a baboon to me is a big animal, along with silverback gorillas. Silverback is bigger, but baboons. So they turned to baboons. Now the key to me, this is the next line. These evil spirits, right there, says it all for me. These evil spirits in the Shona language are known as, and they give the name that I can't say, and are believed to be visible only to those they attack. They say apparently the story of cruel mermaids who frighten workers who need to install water pumps in reservoirs has been identified also by this name. They call them or refer to them as also evil spirits. They say these goblins have been accused of everything from invading marital beds, wow, and claiming sexual favors to attacking nurses and the police, which is what this first story was about, and they abandoned the whole police station headquarters. Even politicians have not escaped dealing with these little troublemakers. Then it goes on to say that a local businessman was forced to defend himself against accusations of using goblins to entice people to buy his goods. Now, when I looked on YouTube last night, there was things on there talking about someone, I don't know if it was a story about this gentleman or someone like him, selling goblins, and I was like, selling them? Employees at this particular headquarters discovered a goblin that looked like a snake. Okay, remember that, serpent or snake, in a bottle full of human blood, okay, and an alleged photo, and they say of a gnome-like creature. And they said it went viral among Zimbabweans on Facebook and WhatsApp. For his part, this particular gentleman denied everything, okay, this businessman, and claimed that the accusations come from rivals that are jealous of his land purchases. He says, I'm a dedicated Christian and I'm not into goblins. It's sad that for every successful deed, there are always people determined to take you down. So basically, that's the end of that article. I'm trying to find the one I saw where it said something about invisible goblins, being attacked by invisible, and it was very much highlighted, goblins. I don't see it on here now, and I must have clicked off the page in which I did pull it up. So just by the little bit from those two articles that were very short, it tells me that the references to serpent in a bottle with blood, evil spirits, they use a certain term, to evil mermaids, or mermen, and these water spirits, along with these goblins. Okay, so right away I think spiritual warfare. And then it also puts me, along with that, is some form of the occult, okay? Sorcery or witchcraft. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look up just that. We're going to look up to see if we can gauge how prevalent that witchcraft and sorcery and spiritual warfare are in this particular location. So I found, I believe it is VOA News, which is Voices of America News, and it says tales of witchcraft abound in Zimbabwe, and this was actually published in 2010, actually, in March, actually. It says many blame their personal troubles on supernatural influences. It says in Zimbabwe, witchcraft is still very common, especially in the rural areas. Hardly a week passes, okay, without a local report or newspaper story on the practice itself. For example, police cornered a man, okay, at a bus terminal after they discovered a live cobra snake. Okay, so here we go again with the snake or the serpent component in his luggage.